Right, so we are setting up the meeting to be broadcasted online right now. So let's wait one more minute and we'll get started.
Sounds good.
All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Today we have another McAllen Talks with the Chamber, and today we have the Workforce Solutions. Today, Josh and Aaron will be talking about different things on unemployment world. So about rapid response services, COVID-19 resources, and in general information about unemployment resources. Also, they will be touching briefly on some updates on the loans, PPP, and economic injury disaster loan. So, with that said, I'll turn it up to Josh Vasquez. So, thank you. Take over.
Well, thank you, Jorge, for having us. My name is Joshua Vasquez, like Jorge mentioned. I'm with the Lower Rio Workforce Board. And we're just going to be, like he mentioned, touching on a few of the components regarding unemployment and some of the loans. With this current time with COVID-19 and the pandemic, we're experiencing, an adverse effect directly to the economy. So we're working closely with our business partners to address these issues. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what exactly we do with the Lower Rio Workforce Board. We are actually one of 28 local workforce boards throughout the state of Texas, and we are responsible. We receive our funding from the Texas Workforce Commission, and we're responsible with connecting employers with job seekers. That's one of our main roles. We actually do not handle unemployment benefits, but we work closely with our TWC counterparts to assist individuals in actually providing them information on how to apply, what the requirements are, and so forth. Like I mentioned, we are one of 28 workforce boards. We have our service areas composed of Hidalgo, Star, and Willacy counties, and we have 5 local workforce boards throughout those counties listed here on the screen. And like I said, our primary role is with working with employers directly and providing them the resources they need to find the talent that they need. This is something that we're going to be working closely with right now. we're seeing a lot of employers that have experienced a lot of layoffs, and with the reopening this week at 25% capacity, we're going to need to work closely with our employers to try to get them to retain their employees that they've currently laid off, and also possibly attract new talent. So we're going to be working closely with that. Moving on to the next slide, some of the services that we provide, of course, for employers is basically assisting with advertising their job postings. Like I mentioned, this is going to be something key with the weeks to come, with trying to fill those positions that they laid off and retaining those individuals. We do help with recruitment and pre-screening as well for those candidates. So what we'll do is we'll actually work closely with our employers, especially our smaller employers that possibly don't have, a large HR department where they're able to actually, assess those candidates that are coming in. We'll do the legwork for you, and we'll actually pre-screen and recruit candidates for the employers, and then we'll actually refer them to employers. We also assist with job fairs and hiring events. We do have, like I mentioned, our workforce sites throughout the 3-county area, and we're able to actually assist employers with hosting these job fairs at our venue, or possibly, maybe at their venue as well, and try to promote these events for them and do the legwork. We do have a large social media following. We actually have one of the largest social media pages, which I will touch on a little later, but we do actually promote through social media. We also have assessments, computer assessments. If an employer is looking to possibly attract talent and they're wanting to gauge their skill set, we can actually assist with providing those assessments and provide the best quality candidate for those individuals. We do have the availability right now. What we're seeing a lot is interviewing software. We've seen this come to a head right now with the pandemic that we're experiencing, and everything is web-based. So we do have the capability to actually offer video interviewing software for employers that are looking to possibly recruit right now at this point for ramping up for their reopening. Like I mentioned, we do have the facilities that are available, and then we also provide a lot of the labor market information. Aaron and I work closely with the Texas Workforce Commission to provide a lot of the information regarding, what the job growth is, unemployment statistics, salaries, and wages that employers should be paying. So this is all services that we offer for our employers free of charge, and a lot of employers are not aware that we do offer these services. Another one of the components that we're going to see as well is we offer different funding resources through the Texas Workforce Commission. And one of those is the on-the-job training. This is going to be key. Like I mentioned, we've experienced something with COVID that we haven't seen in the past, where there's going to be new training that's going to be needed for those employees that come back. So a lot of the safety training, a lot of the sanitation, a lot of these employers that we have are not used to, dealing with having to sanitize, having to wear PPE equipment for their employees. So this is something that's going to be new, and the employers are going to actually need to train for these particular scenarios. So we do assist with on-the-job training. These are 50 to 75% reimbursements for our employers for wages for up to 6 months. So this is, how we leverage our resources to assist especially our smaller employers that are looking to provide that on-the-job training. We also have the work experience component, where this is relatively for an individual who has little work experience, and we work with our employers where we actually reimburse 100% of the wages for this particular program. There's also different opportunities that are available for our employers. Our work opportunity tax credit is one, where if an employer does hire an individual in a specific demographic, whether it be an unemployed individual that's receiving benefits, an individual that's recently separated from the military, there are tax credits that an employer is able to capitalize on for these particular demographics. Again, we also work closely with our vocational rehab in assisting employers with hiring individuals with disabilities. We do, like I said, work closely with them. They're now integrated into our workforce system, and we can actually assist with different technologies that are available. We do understand that, individuals with disability is one of the demographics that we focus on, and trying to assist them with their hiring needs. rapid response services is one of the key things that we're working on right now. We work closely with employers to try to identify, layoffs, to try to, limit layoffs as much as possible. I know that it's been difficult with the current situation, but we try to intervene as early as possible with employers and offer, if they absolutely do need to close, we offer assistance for those affected employees by assisting them and looking for work potentially through our database, which is one of the largest job boards throughout the state of Texas. Is called workintexas.com, which I will also touch on a little bit later. But this is the portal that we use to assist individuals that are looking for work and so forth. Unemployment benefits, like I touched on earlier, this is going to be one of the key things right now that we're assisting. We've experienced, more claims within the last month that we have throughout the whole year last year through the Texas Workforce Commission. So we assist individuals that are coming in on how to actually apply for benefits. We provide them with some of the eligibility requirements that Aaron will touch on a little bit later. But this is something that we do offer as well. Labor market, like I touched on a little earlier. And then we do offer stress management seminars and financial management seminars for affected employers and employees as well. We know that given this time, it's something that's unprecedented, and we do try to offer these seminars for those affected individuals as well. Going back to our job board, this is an actual screenshot of our workintexas.com job board. And individuals that are actually applying for unemployment, it is a requirement that they go in there and register with Work in Texas. This actually, as you can see, the job openings, those are the job openings for the area, 545,000 job posted today, 588 active resumes. So this is a good tool not only for job seekers but for employers as well to go in there and register with this. You'll have access to viewing a lot of these resumes, a lot of these potential candidates that you're looking to call back or ramp up with. So this is a good tool for our employers to use. Like I mentioned, this is throughout the state of Texas, but we can drill it down specifically to whatever area you're looking to hire for. We can drill it down to whatever the qualifications are, whatever the requirements are for the particular position. So this is actually a job board that's free of charge for our employers as well. And we really encourage you all to use this as well. Going back to the social media component, we do have our RGV Operation Get Hired, and this is, again, a snapshot of that. This is, like I mentioned, one of the largest job boards that we have, and we're able to actually promote any event that's going on for employers. Any information that you want to get out there to the general public, we can actually promote this as well. And we can promote your jobs during this job board. We do have, like I said, the largest following, so we also encourage you all to take advantage of this, and we can actually put that out to our social media page. Some of the funding that we do offer are different types of grants through the Texas Workforce Commission. And I'm going to touch on a few of these right now that we're really aggressively looking to partner with businesses on, which is our skills development for small business. We understand, like I mentioned, that a lot of these skills are new skills that are going to be needed for employees that are coming back and transitioning. So there's actually an initiative through our Skills Development Fund grant right now. It's a COVID-19 initiative where these are geared towards 3 industries: our healthcare, our IT, and then also it's going to be geared towards our manufacturing. Now, these are special funds that were allocated through the Texas Workforce Commission to help employers deal with this. Of course, we're working with our manufacturers that are possibly, retooling and shifting their services to maybe produce components vital to addressing the COVID-19 initiative. Just an example, we've got businesses that have shifted that are potentially producing face masks, sanitizing equipment, and so forth. So these are funds that are available to provide training to those individuals that are shifting their product services. So like I mentioned, these are those types of components that we were able to assist individuals, and we're looking right now actively to identify those employers that are potentially doing this and assisting them with that. We also have our self-sufficiency funds. These are different grants. Of course, our Skills for Small Veterans, our Texas Industry Partnership, and our High Demand Job Training Grant. And these are different grants that we are able to leverage and actually provide that training. Now, in these trainings, we partner with either a community college or a third-party vendor, and we're actually able to provide this training on the job to those individuals for those occupations that are identified. Also, additionally, we do have different resources through our through the Texas Workforce Commission. We understand, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of these employers that we work with, especially our smaller employers, don't have that full-time HR person on staff. So we do have our website through the Texas Workforce Commission, where we have legal counsel that's able to actually answer any types of questions if they have an HR issue, especially with this COVID-19 situation. A lot of the do's and don'ts for employers coming back and actually trying to recall their employees. If an employer has a question, they actually have access to this website where they can actually get information regarding any types of requirements needed for either post-employment policy, separation, and so forth. We also do have a 1-800 number where employers are actually able to access, like I said, a lot of the information, and they're able to speak with someone personally to help them address any issues that they have in trying to deal with this particular COVID-19 situation. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. We'll leave the questions for the end. I'll transition over to Aaron. He's going to be touching on a few of the components on UI and the CARES Act.
Okay, hi. My name is Aaron Gonzalez. Oops, let me share my screen here. Hey, Josh, can you bring up your screen?
Yes, I'll bring mine up. Okay, we're all set. Can you see my screen, Aaron?
We can't. Not right now.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. I think you're muted, Aaron.
Okay, sorry, I muted myself. So like Josh mentioned, there's the CARE Act of 2020 in response to COVID-19. There are some new changes that prior didn't exist to the COVID-19 pandemic. You can see here's a list of some of the new changes as far as unemployment benefits go. There's the pandemic unemployment assistance. Prior to COVID-19, if you were self-employed, you were a 1099 worker, you didn't necessarily qualify for unemployment benefits, but now under the pandemic unemployment assistance, you are eligible to receive some of those benefits. You can see here, the federal government will cover the first week of unemployment. Usually people are ineligible to receive unemployment that first week. That was a change that was made as well, therefore going that 1 week waiting period. You don't have to be actively looking for work for a period of time. And the unemployment compensation was increased by $600 per week. So what that means is whatever you would normally qualify for, you would receive that plus an additional $600 per week. And the unemployment compensation was extended by 13 weeks. Earlier, Josh posted the 1-800 number to call in to make an unemployment claim. they've been overwhelmed with phone calls. It's very hard to get through. So what they did was they added these different times of suggested times you can call in. For us, area codes beginning with 9, they recommend calling between on Monday, Wednesday, Friday between 8 and noon. So they've designated these blocks for people to call. If you can't call in during this time, they've also recommended that you call really late at night or very early in the morning when they're not as crowded with phone calls. There's a link there at the bottom where you can get some more information. If you're able to get on and make your claim online, that's been the easiest way. If you do have to call, then it's probably best to call within one of these windows. I've had people I know that have had an easier time now getting through than when it initially started. So I think it's starting to slow down a little bit. But like I said, if you can do it online, that's the best way. This is just a kind of like a flow chart of how the process works. You can see at the top which one you fall under, and then it'll kind of take you through the process of how you will get approved and how long you can get those benefits for. Some more services, unemployment benefit claims, self-service. There's the Texas Workforce Mass Claims Program. There's the Shared Work Program. So the Shared Work Program, what that is they can, if you're having to reduce hours of some of your employees, they can receive unemployment benefits to make up for that gap of lost salary that they're missing out on. There's the appeals, and there's the tax department. So again, we have the phone number at the bottom and a link. Oh. You can go to the next one. In addition to the unemployment benefits, there's also some changes to or additions through the CARES Act for small business. The most popular one probably that you all have heard is the PPP. It's actually paycheck, I put payment, but it's Paycheck Protection Program. That allows you to pay your employees for 8 weeks once you've got that loan. And if you're able to retain your employees over that period of time, there's a possibility of having that loan forgiven. This was intended to sort of replace or help out with the unemployment benefits. From what I've heard is that they can either be working or they can be at home and continue to get a salary. But over that 8-week period, you do have to maintain that same number that you started with when you applied for the loan. The other popular one is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDL loan. That's a low interest loan that a small business can apply for to help them get over these next few months. It's a low interest payment, and there's a deferred payment when they can start paying that back. There's also the economic injury grants, and there's small business debt relief. So with some of these, if they already had a current SBA loan, they can defer some of those payments for 6 months. SBA will pay their principal and interest for the next 6 months and defer some of those payments to later on. One of the changes that was approved recently was that the PPP loans got an additional 310 billion injected, so they opened that up again. I know that they ran out of funds pretty quickly, so they've released some more money for that, and another 10 billion for the EIDL loans has also been approved. So with the PPP loans, you apply through your lender. So whoever you bank with, talk to them. There's also a list of approved lenders on SBA's site. And with the EIDL loans, that's directly through sba.gov to apply for those loans. Some additional changes that were brought on because of COVID-19, the Our website has some resources available. That's wfsolutions.org. We have an online chat feature. So that feature is on all the time. As soon as you get on the page, it'll pop up. So if you just have some questions, a lot of people are able to get those answered through the chat feature. There's some additional employer resources, some job seeker resources, childcare provider resources, and healthcare. And you'll see a tab that says COVID-19, so you can see the new resources available due to this pandemic. So this was a slide from a webinar we attended through the governor's office. An infographic shows you the difference between the EIDL loan and the PPP loan. Both are loan programs. Except the PPP, if you follow all of the guidelines, there's a possibility of getting that loan forgiven, which is more like a grant. But you do have to follow the guidelines. You have to make sure that 75% of those funds are used for payroll and maintaining those employees. At the top, you'll see it says 349 billion available. That's changed. That's the previous one. The new one, I think, is 310 billion. So again, check with your lender and see if you qualify for the PPP and then SBA for the EIDL loan. Some strategies that have that we've seen people suggest are increase your social media activity. You want to make sure that your customers know that you're not closed forever, that you may be temporarily closed, or if you've changed the way you operate, you want to make sure that your customers know that too. A lot of people right now during the shutdown have been offering curbside assistance. They've been you can order through your app, or they have different options now that they didn't have before. So you want to make sure that they know that and they know how to reach you. Also, if I know on tomorrow, some businesses are planning to open up again. So you want to send that message out to your customers and let them know in what capacity you're going to open, what is the process, and just make it easy for everyone to know that you're opening up again. Go to the next one. Some more tips, just stay positive. Like I said, stay relevant. So update your social media pages, your Google page. Be flexible. There's, Jorge and I were just talking before the webinar about some people are opening by appointment. So, that they are limiting you to 25% capacity. So for some businesses that are bigger, that's still a lot of customers. For some that are very small, that might be 1 or 2 people at a time. So kind of figure that out, work out a strategy, and continue to market and let people know how it is you're going to operate with the ongoing changes that are coming. Like Josh mentioned earlier, there are 5 centers in our coverage area in Edinburgh, Wesco, and then Star and Willacy. You can contact one of the centers at the number below or through email. Sorry. All right, sorry guys. Our business solutions manager is Roland Bettis, and then our okay, sorry about that. Can we go to the next slide? Our team is made up of Daniel, Josh, and myself. This is our contact info. Here are our phone numbers, or you can contact us via email, and we also have a number there at the bottom. And for more information, like I said, we have our website with some updates specifically for COVID-19, and of course, all our regular business services that we offer. The Facebook page, there's both there. There's Workforce Solutions and RGV Operation Get Hired. There's, I think that Facebook page has 40,000 followers. So that's where we do a lot of our mass promotion. And so now I guess we'll take some questions.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that information, Aaron and Josh. Now we open the floor for questions. If you have any questions, make sure to type them in the chat. We'll be reading them to the speakers. Meanwhile, we received some questions around how many claims have we received at a national level. I know that these are record-breaking numbers, but do you guys have an approximate number?
Well, for the state of Texas, as of last week, we received 1.4 million claims. Out of those claims, 1.3 were actually done online.
Wow. Okay. Now, you guys mentioned that if you're filing for employment, you will be receiving extra $600 per week. How long that last?
For the extra $600, that is set to expire in July. So that's only, I mean, these also are up for changes. So as we change, as we're going back, the governor's office is actually extending a lot of those, or actually, keeping a close eye on that to see when they need to scale back on that, depending on how the economy reacts as well. Like Aaron mentioned earlier, there is no job search requirement at this time because of the current stay-at-home orders. But as we open business back up, I mean, the governor is going to be looking at that closely and maybe assessing those requirements. Like I was mentioning earlier to Jorge, a lot of the times it's going to be difficult, whether it be to try to retain those employees or call them back, especially those employees that maybe have pre-existing conditions and might feel that they might not want to come back at the current time. So we're working closely. We're monitoring that, and the governor's office is actually putting out those requirements through the Texas Workforce Commission. Perfect.
Now, there's a dilemma right now with this 600 extra that some employees are receiving. They are earning more than what they used to when they were actually being. Is there that a business needs to do in order to register the labor? How are businesses backing up this type of situation?
Well, what we're doing is we're encouraging our business partners to, first and foremost, try to abide by the CDC guidelines as much as possible. We know that this is a new component for them to try to recall those individuals and try to provide the PPE equipment, try to provide the best working environment according to CDC guidelines. If an employer is doing this, then they are able to call back the employees to a safe work environment. If an employee refuses to come back once you extend that offer for coming back, then we encourage our employers to work directly through the Texas Workforce Commission and report that through our fraud division through the Texas Workforce Commission. If an employee refuses an offer for work, that'll disqualify them from receiving unemployment benefits. So we encourage our employers to work through the Texas Workforce Commission for that.
Now, another question out there is that if an employer gets cut back a certain percentage of their hours, they are still eligible for unemployment. What's that percentage so that they can still claim the unemployment, but still be able?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up. I didn't hear the last part of that question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I know that there's a percentage of hours that they need to work or that they can work in order to still receive unemployment. What's that threshold line?
Well, there really isn't a percentage per se. It just depends on the individual. If an individual, usually it's at least if they could cut back at least 50%. Um, a lot of people think that unemployment, gives an individual, 100% of the wages that they were earning. That it just depends on how much they were earning. It usually, if they cut back at least 50%, then an individual will qualify for some partial unemployment benefits. But it's just on an individual case by case basis, depending on how much they were earning. Keep in mind, the maximum is 520 in unemployment benefits weekly. That's assuming if an individual is earning at least $43,000 or above. And it just varies, like I said, depending on how much the individual was making.
All right. Now, you guys mentioned that you guys have uh, on-the-job training subsidies. You guys work with trusted vendors, or how's the process in order to collect at 50 to 75% coverage of the expenses?
For the on-the-job training component, a employer works closely with us. They enter into a contract with the workforce board to provide that on-the-job training. So this would be for somebody who's currently working with them, or maybe a new individual that's coming in to work. If the employer is willing to actually train this individual on the job for those components and take this individual on, then they can enter into a contract with workforce, and we leverage those resources, those funds, to the Texas Workforce Commission, and we can actually reimburse the employer. So in essence, the employer would pay those wages, submit the times and the training plan to workforce, and then we would in turn reimburse the employer for, depending on the size of the employer, from 50 to 75%.
Got it. There are some funds for the COVID-19 initiative. How many funds are available out there? Or is there a limit that a business can apply for? How does that work?
As far as the funding for COVID specific, like I mentioned, we do have the COVID-19 Skills Development Fund initiative. Now, what Texas Workforce Commission did was they reallocated $10 million for training purposes. And like I mentioned, this is going to be for employers that are possibly retooling. Just as an example, we have a brewery that has shifted their focus to actually produce hand sanitizers. So if that's going to be the case, then we can actually, as a board, apply for this particular funding and working with the business to maybe provide new training for those individuals that are going to be now manufacturing this new component specific to COVID-19. Now, also, if a business has experienced an adverse drawback specifically for COVID, this might fall under that as well. If they had to lay off at least 50% of their workforce because of COVID-19, we can work with the employer to possibly provide training as far as, like I said, those safety measures. If an employer is now having their employees work from home, we understand that this is something new, and we can actually provide training as well for those new processes that are in place.
Great, great. Is there any other question in the chat? Well, I think that would be it. Thank you very much, Josh and Aaron, for sharing this awesome information. If anyone has a question about this meeting, feel free to reach out to Aaron, to Josh, or to me, and we'll be happy to help you out. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for your time today. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.